What's up, guys? Happy Handsome Tuesday. We've got a couple stories. Just want to let you guys know I might be trying to stream this week on Twitch. I'm trying to figure that out. Want to give it a shot. I got a little bit of free time, so I want to, give you guys some access. I do want to stream on YouTube. It's just a little bit more. Yeah, I just got to experiment. That's all. Got to experiment with it. But I want to give Twitch a try. I already got my username, which is my name, before anybody can take that. So we got a story. We'll get right into the story. It says the race. Where am I? The race to first place is on. Eric Muniz and Adam Rosinski are battling for the top spot in the IBJJF ranking. With 20K on the line. The gi season ends May 29th. Does it end May 29th? Oh, I guess that's the last tournament. I basically got 2 more months to get points for Worlds. We'll see if that works. And the winners will be crowned at the World Championship in Long Beach. Eric is set to compete at Rio Fall Open this weekend, while Adam is gearing up for Brasileiro. With 15 tournaments left, anything can happen. Who's taking the top spot? So, if you guys don't know, they rank people through the IBJJF ranking system. So I think we've done the point ranking system, but based off the tournament placement, so first place, second place, third place, you get a set number of points. And also there's tiers. So if you win Worlds, you get a multiplier. If you win Euros, you get a little bit less points, but it's still high. If you win a local tournament, a Miami Open or New Jersey Open or Los Angeles Open, you basically get the standard amount of points. So just to recap, first place you get 1 point, third place you get 1 point, or it's either 1 point or 3 points. I don't remember. I think it is 1 point, or maybe it's 3 points. I can't remember. Second place you get 9 points. First place you get 27 points. And in order for black belts to do certain tournaments, for example, Pans, I had to have 40 points. And for Worlds, I need 80 points. So it's rough. I need that 40 points in 2 months, basically. So we'll see if that's doable. My issue here is the 20K. Yeah, I feel like that's too low. What do you guys think? I think that's too low for these two very skilled athletes, basically. Why is it 20K? Why is it 20K? And we got to take into account, this is California. They're going to get the money in California. So just assume there's going to be a 30% tax on that money, ideally. I don't know if they're paying taxes. Both of these guys are from different countries. Eric Muniz from Brazil, Rosinski from Poland. But let's just assume they're paying taxes. So it's like $6,000 in taxes. So $14,000 they get to walk away with. And I don't know about you guys, but $14,000 really isn't that much for the top athletes in the sport. That's kind of a slap in the face a little bit. Here's $14,000. Carlos Gracie just throws the money and it flies in the air and lands on the floor, and he makes them pick it up, right? I'm thinking about the flights, think about the hotels, the rental cars, the food. I just don't think $14,000. If you spread that out over a year, that's a little bit over $1,000 a month. Depending on where you are, that can be okay. If you're not in America, that can be okay. But again, these are the top athletes, and $14,000 just doesn't seem like it's enough for the top athlete. And think about the tournaments they're doing. I mean, shoot, Rosinski is going down to Brazil for Brasileiros. If he brings his family down, that's $5,000. To stay down there, fly him, his wife, and his daughter. I think he has a daughter. His kid down to Brazil. That's close to $5,000. That's like $3,000 right there. Okay, hotel. He's probably going to be in Brazil for a couple weeks to a month, maybe. That's another $1,000. That's $4,000. Okay, food and everything else, $5,000. $5,000 right there. Man, that's not even covering the other tournaments, the other trips. Man, I just don't think that's good. IBJJF, you guys need to do better. Let's see what some of these comments say. I get riled up, guys. Well, how much do you think they paid in entry fees? They probably paid. Well, I think. Well, they're both world champions, so they might be reimbursed for entry fees. That is true. They might be reimbursed for entry fees. So they register, and I don't know if it's free from the jump or they pay and then they get the money back or how that works. They both are world champions, so they might get the entry fee paid back to them. But if you're not a world champion, you paying out of pocket, or somebody's paying, sponsors or somebody, sugar daddies like Craig Jones, like he got, somebody's paying. Let's see what someone says. Actually, $0. Both get free registration for being world champions. Okay, but they still got to pay for the hotel, rental car, food. That's still it's still money, man. That's still money. Insurance, health insurance. I'm sure. Well, Brazil actually has really good health insurance. In Poland, I'm sure they have better health insurance than here. But man, it's still not enough money, bro. Yeah, that 20K. Yeah, that's for the whole year, guys. That ain't for just a month of work. That's for the whole year of working at these tournaments and competing at the highest level and the highest skill level. I think it should be at least 100K. That's what the other tournaments are doing. If you can make 100K winning a little division in some of these tournaments, these guys deserve $100,000. Yeah, for sure. Minimum. I think they deserve more money. What do you guys think? So I was looking, in Brazil, I think the average yearly salary is probably $7,000 USD. So if you're taking $14,000, it's kind of double what the average salary is in Brazil. I'm not saying that's a lot of money because Brazil's expensive, bro. Especially if you get paid in reais. Yeah, I mean, if say you're Eric Muniz, I think he lives in America, but say he makes, or say Gabrielli or someone, okay, they win the 20K, aka 14K, they go back to Brazil. That's not terrible. Now, are they balling? Maybe a little bit in Brazil, but they still gotta be financially smart. Yeah, I just it's too low. 20K, bro. That's nothing, right? Dana White spends that on drinks. Dana White spends whatever money we be making, he spend that like nothing. So talking about travel, yeah, in travel between Brazil and America, at least $1,000. Unless they got some sky miles or flying standby or something. That's $1,000 each trip for these guys. So that 14,000 already, the trip to America is already, that's $1,000 right there. Yeah, that money don't go that far, man. I think it needs to at least be 100K, 250, 300K. You got to incentivize people. 20K, all right. I'm not leaving the house for 20K, really. I mean, I would like to, but man, you got to think they're fighting killers all the time. But 300K, I assure you, you're gonna see some good jiu-jitsu. You're gonna see, bro, where this guy come from? You're gonna see some monsters coming to get that money. But 20K, I mean, it's just, I don't think it's worth it, really. So talking about traveling, we got traveling on a budget from Inverted Gear. Offer code Alec, I got to shout that out. So, if you guys know Nelson and Hillary, they be traveling. Even with the kids, they be traveling. Some of my most treasured life experiences have been a result of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu travel. Having a gi in your bag gives you adventure, a certain sort quest-like aesthetic. You're not just on vacation, you are on an adventure, and that has purpose. To train, to learn, to come back with new ideas and insights that you didn't have before you visited a strange mat in a far-off land. That thinking might be a result of childhood defined by Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy literature, and Karate Kids movies. Regardless, I believe that every jiu-jitero owes it to themselves to take a jiu-jitsu road trip, even if it's just for a weekend. You might discover that it's something of a new hobby for you, and you might be surprised at the interesting friends and characters you can meet along the way. Unfortunately, traveling in general can be expensive. It is expensive. It's only going to get more expensive. And that might deter you. With a little bit of ingenuity and a healthy perspective of what it might mean to be a wandering samurai, you can travel to new places and train without necessarily breaking the bank. Try these tips. Call ahead for drop-in training policies and rates. Yeah. Check in first, guys. Most gyms are going to be welcoming. It says, find a partner in crime. A hotel room gets cheaper the more bodies you can cram into it. You might not be living in luxury, but splitting expenses 2, 3, or even 4 ways can save you money on gas and lodging. If you're industrious enough to pack your own food, it can save you money on that front as well. Also, traveling with friends tends to be more fun. Yeah, that's how we used to do it. We would go to Worlds, bro. Be 4 people to a room, sometimes 5 or 6. People on the floor, people in the tub, sleeping. Keep connections alive. In jiu-jitsu, we often see people passing through our town and stopping into our home gyms to train. Be welcoming to people and keep contact with them over Facebook or email. If they become a friend, each of you could end up with a couch to crash on whenever the other one travels. Hostel it up. Hostels. I might be a little too old for hostels, but when you're young, go do the hostels. Mat surf. It's now easier than ever to find a friendly jiu-jitsu. I hate saying that word. I hate saying that one, Nelson. Why did you put that word there? Who will house out-of-towners for a chance to roll with them? Christian Graugart, I never say his name right, from BJJ Globetrotters fame, has created mat surfing, which you guys can check out. Sleep at the school. I've done that too. If you're on the road for Worlds as a competitor or as a fan, you should check out Brea Jiu-Jitsu. I've been there too. Shout out to Brea. I've been sleeping on the mat. Had to get up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. and get on the lawn chair because they had class. Yo, bro. Good times, man. Run by Dan Lukehart, also known as Trumpet Dan. He's kept an annual tradition of letting people sleep on the mats of his gym during Worlds, and the caveat that they be cool and everyone there and don't steal any of his stuff. Yeah, Trumpet Dan. That's one of the best gyms. If you guys are going to Worlds, you need a place to crash or a place to train, go to Brea. Keep an eye out for grappling camps. Says the prices for grappling camps can vary greatly, especially as since a lot more organizations are running them now. And if you're following some of the more reputable camps organizers, you can grab a good deal on a really cool trip. They do, Nelson and Hillary do the BJJ Globetrotters. That's one. There's a ton of trips in Europe. Ton of camps and trips in Europe you guys can check out. I think all my friends do them. Since I've been to America, I haven't done any camps, really. Americans don't really do camps, but once you go to like Europe or the Caribbean or somewhere, they be doing camps left and right. It's good money, man. I need to get on some camps. Also, we got the Mexico camp, which is with Inverted Gear in Puerto Escondido. I've been to that one. That was a good camp. Okay, I've been to one camp in America, I think. Yeah, the Inverted Gear camp. That's a good one. I suggest you guys check it out. And Nelson also says get double duty on study abroad programs. Yeah, you guys can do some national student exchange. I never heard of that one. So you can see, look that up. If you can do study exchange, study abroad programs, maybe look for higher education, get your master's, PhD in a different country. That's a different way to get outside the country and train. So talking about expenses and not being able to afford anything and being undercut and not paid enough, we got Jiu-Jitsu here. He says, I can't afford BJJ classes. Let's see what he's got to say.
Jiu-Jitsu. Man, I get this. What do you do if you can't afford jiu-jitsu? Man, I get this from people. I'm just gonna speak from my experience. I was a poor kid growing up. I didn't have any money, man. But what I did is I made priorities. There was something I wanted, right? And for me, if I want something, I will find a way to make it happen. There's just no question, right? So I made enough money from working on like odd jobs and stuff that I paid for myself and my buddy who was training with me, because I wanted a buddy to go train with me. He didn't have the money, he said. He probably had the money, he just didn't want to spend it on jiu-jitsu. But I was like, well, shit, I'll buy your membership, I'll buy membership. We'll train together. And it was $80 a month, so $160 for me to pay out of my pocket at 18 years old, and basically no money, just waiting tables on the side when I was going to school. My suggestion to you would be to see what you're spending money on and find what you can sort of move out of the way and prioritize jiu-jitsu a little bit more. If for some reason you absolutely do not have any money, you don't have any money, there's no way you can do it, talk to the coaches that are there, man, and see what you can work out. I've had guys over the year that have mopped the mats, clean the gym, and do different things like that to help me out. I've get them odd jobs,
that music
do
gonna get me.
Things like that.
That
You
music
just gotta
got me.
be upfront, because you don't want to be one of those dudes where like you say, oh man, let me train for mopping the mats, and then you stop mopping the mats or something like that. You gotta make sure you uphold that in your end of the agreement. Desire backed by persistence and faith, my friend. Back to training.
Yes, thank you, Jiu-Jitsu, man. It's crazy to see how motivated people were back in the day.
Find a way to make it happen.
He's over here paying for his friend to train. He paying for himself and his friend to train, you know. And $80 a month back then, I mean, some places $80 still a lot of money. But back then, it was even more money. Probably 10, 20 years ago, whatever it was. But that's pretty wild, you know. Some people right now, they're like, get a little boo-boo on their finger, can't train. But look at this guy. He's like, all right, man, I'm going to get my friend to train. You know, I feel like the old school was more just about that lifestyle, different lifestyle. You know, we watched the Kurt Ossiander video, and Ralph Gracie was slapping those guys. They would come back. Imagine you try to slap one of these people nowadays. I mean, we some of the coaches want to slap you, they can't. But back then, they would just slap people. They would slap you, bro. You had to take it. I'm not saying that was right. I'm just saying that the people are different than the current people. The current clientele, you know, they got to be catered to, and you just gotta, I don't know, feel like you got to baby them, and you basically the concierge. How can we help you today, guys? What do you guys want to learn today? Oh, you don't want to do the warm up? Okay, I completely understand. Yeah. It went from, now it's more of a service. You see it as a service. I'm paying you to teach me. But back then it was more just like, you know, it was a martial art. You know, you were paying, but it was just, you didn't care about the money. You just wanted to learn from the coach, the instructor. I don't know if it's like that anymore. You know, I'm going on my rant. If you guys think it's different, let me know in the comments. You know, I'm always open to the dialogue as much as I can. So going on Reddit, it says, do you think sport BJJ will ever be watchable for general public? Let's go ahead and say no. Nope. Let's move on. I think the combat, we looked at the combat wrestling. I think that would do pretty well. It was pretty exciting. It was more exciting than regular wrestling. Regular freestyle, or actually, you know, freestyle is pretty popular. But imagine you take all the freestyle moves, all the folk style moves, and then you add some submissions. That was pretty interesting, I think. I was trying to get some of my mates into watching BJJ matches. We are all really big fans of the UFC and MMA in general. We all have striking backgrounds, and I wrestled growing up. I've been doing BJJ for over a year now. They all thought it was the dumbest thing ever. It happens. Why are people just sitting on their butts? Who wants to willingly watch this? Imagine seeing someone butt scoot towards you in real life. This can't be a combat sport. This is crazy. This is 2025 people thinking this. So imagine 1993 or something, 2003, you know, those years. Now, obviously, guard pulling is a legitimate technique, which should be allowed in competition, but it just got me wondering, is anybody outside of the hardcore BJJ people going to enjoy this? No, they're not. You taught the people that didn't enjoy it. Let's see. Is it ever going to have a big audience? Of course. It's a very technical game. It's going to be a niche sport forever. All the grappling arts are niche sports. Didn't you know that? Not to say that there's no money in it. Look at wrestling. NIL is changing things. With wrestling, judo, I don't know what judo's doing. What are you guys doing in judo? And then, you know, jiu-jitsu, we're in this semi-pro scenario where, you know, We still have a lot of amateur people, but then there's some people at the top that are making a lot of money. I would say people don't really watch grappling. They don't. Uh, let's see. I'd say wrestling and judo are more dynamic than BJJ and also more exciting. The quick movements, aggressiveness, dexterity, and explosiveness make it more interesting than BJJ to watch. I have no data to back this up aside from my own mates having more interest in that than BJJ, but I think that's got something to do with it. Sport BJJ can be much more stale than wrestling or judo. I mean, all those sports can get boring with the wrong match. There was possibly the greatest upset in NCAA wrestling history, featuring one of the biggest names in wrestling recently, and it was crickets in the media. That's not true. Well, Elon Musk just posted about it, so you can't listen to everything on Reddit, bro. Some of these Reddit people don't know it. They don't train. They don't know anything. So you're listening to them, thinking that their opinion matters, not knowing that they're trolling the whole time. Not knowing that, NCAA's had one of their biggest years this year in terms of media. It was on ESPN. I mean, what else do you need? What are you comparing it to? Most of the sports, at least in America, basketball viewership's down. I'm sure baseball. I don't know where baseball's viewership is. Football might be up there. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm getting angry over here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think any grappling sport's ever going to be popular. I don't know what sport. Sports are struggling all around, The only sport that's not struggling right now is pickleball. Pickleball taking over everything. At least right now, I think it's a fad kind of, but maybe I'm wrong. It says lots of sports are unwatchable to masses. Golf, cricket. Yeah, those sports. Oh, who's gonna watch them? They got their viewership in their countries, in their niches that support them. Yeah, you don't need millions of viewers. I mean, obviously it helps for sponsors, but I mean, you don't need 1 million viewers. Actually, some countries. I mean, if you got all of India, supporting you in cricket, that's 1 billion people right there. You good? Yeah, I'm not sure. I off the top, even MMA. I don't think MMA's that popular. I think boxing. I think the more complex the sport is, the less viewers, average viewers you're gonna maintain. So boxing's pretty simple. Everybody's got hands. Everybody knows how to throw a punch. Basically, everybody understands that. But as you go, say to MMA, okay, it's a little bit more complex. There's kicks and punches. It's gonna be less people that can understand it. And grappling, okay. But similar thing with kickboxing. It's more complex. People don't really understand it. Yeah, I mean, people understand the ball sports. Okay, throw the ball in the hoop. Okay, makes sense. Easy, simple to understand. High scores. But then once you add complexity, it's tougher, right? Talking about judo, we got Shigashi. He's one of the guys on YouTube. He's pretty big on YouTube. And he's talking to Jimmy Pedro, I believe, and judo versus BJJ population in the USA. So we're talking about all this talk of popularity of wrestling and judo, but I think there's more actual practitioners of BJJ than both of those. Maybe it could be debated. Wrestling's got a lot of it's more spectators in wrestling, more spectators in judo, but jiu-jitsu is kind of rare in that it's very participant heavy. Almost similar to like golf, or it's more similar to golf or pickleball or tennis or something like that, where a lot of the practitioners, a lot of the people that play those sports will watch the professionals. Let's see what they got to say.
BJJ versus Judo in terms of population. I always assume it's like a 5 to 10x multiplier for Jiu-Jitsu here in the States. Is it more?
It's over 100 times multiplier.
Oh,
wow.
If you think
that's
about
huge.
the number of people that practice jiu-jitsu in this country right now, I don't know the absolute statistics on it,
Yeah.
but it is well into the millions. Well into the millions. It is no longer just, 500,000. You think about France as a country has 550,000 people doing judo. You could put France into the state of Texas. I mean, we've got 50 times the population that they do.
Yeah.
And if you think about jiu-jitsu today and how every single person knows somebody that does BJJ at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on every street corner. It's in every town. It's, you don't have to drive more than 5 miles to get to a jiu-jitsu academy in this country anywhere.
Very true.
I mean,
yeah.
You're talking about millions of people now practicing the sport.
Well, so you think there's active more than 1 million competitors in the United States in BJJ?
I don't think competitors, but I think there's millions of people practicing the sport of jiu-jitsu today.
BJJ versus Judo.
So you heard that from Jimmy Pedro. I mean, if you don't know who Jimmy Pedro is, I think he was one of the Olympic coaches. And I'm sure he's an Olympian too. Very high level judoka.
I rolled into
BJJ versus Judo in terms of.
And I'm not sure if it's in the millions. I mean, the subreddit IBJJF is 500,000 people. If we go back a step, let's see over here. If we go to IBJJF, how many people are here? There's 854,000 people in this subreddit. So basically 1 million people that are following the sport, the art form. Got a frog in my throat, guys. So basically almost 1 million people just on Reddit. So that goes to show that the sport is growing. I think when I joined 2018-17 on IBJJF, it was like 200,000 or 100,000 or something like that, and it's over like almost 1 million. And as Jimmy Pedro said, there are schools everywhere. It's more popular. You got a lot of celebrities. Got Ivanka Trump. You got Zuckerberg. You got all these people doing jiu-jitsu. You got all these people that follow Joe Rogan and Jocko and God knows who else. So the sport is growing. I think we just saw Zuckerberg down here. What do you got to say?
I rolled into this tournament. I registered under my first and middle name, so people didn't know who I was. And I had like sunglasses and a hat, and I wore a coat.
They knew who he was, bro.
It wasn't until
They saw your bodyguards
step onto the mat that I was like, all right, take all this stuff off. And the guy was like, what? And afterwards, his coach was like, I think it was Mark Zuckerberg who just submitted me. I rolled into.
I mean,
this
you got billionaires. I mean, there's definitely billionaires. I mean, like Putin that did a little bit of judo, but you got like Mark Zuckerberg competing in a regular tournament that any of you guys could do. So that's pretty wild, And yeah, it could be in the millions. At least people that know what jiu-jitsu is in the millions. Yeah, so pretty interesting to see that. Talking about all these crazy guys, we got Buchecha showing a armbar. So if you guys don't know who Buchecha is, he's one of the best to do it. I guess the best comparison would be Victor Hugo. He's like a better version of Victor Hugo. I mean, Buchecha's won worlds absolute 10 times, worlds and absolute 10 times. So really, really accomplished in the sport. And just a mat monster, really.
Only to be passed again or put inside control again. And
nice.
Buchecha, 3 points plus 4 into the mount. A little bit over a minute to go.
And Jao Hosha looks exactly like him. They both look the
Yep,
same.
he's going for the finish now.
I'm not being racist or anything. They both look the same.
In classic Buchecha
Got
form. Not
They literally
content
look the
with
same.
The points, gets the arm lock finish.
It's gonna be an armbar from the side mount, okay? First thing that I gotta do here is like switch base, right? So hands over the hip, hands over the arm. So make sure that you get his arm and above your hip, okay? Once you get here, create some space.
Is that Leandro?
Make sure that you open your elbow.
I don't know who that is. That might be Leandro.
Under his
Oh, Leandro.
So now the guy's protecting, so I don't want to
It's
go
from 2016,
over. So that's why I bring my
Ibiza.
foot,
RIP Leandro.
bring to my belly, slide over. Once you touch the foot on the mat, open his arm, put some pressure on the hook, hug the head, on the hook of the other arm. Make sure that you walk with your hands, both hands under his hands. Hold the opposite triceps. Armbar position.
You don't realize how big he is until you see him with Leandro. You know, Leandro's getting close to like 200 pounds here, and then look how big Buchecha is. Probably 240 to 260 maybe. Nice, yeah. And the big guy jumps on you like look at Leandro. Nice little armbar, you know. You don't need complex moves, guys, especially the big guys. You keep it simple, man. Keep it simple. Put the weight on us. So talking about Leandro and Buchecha, we got Stephen Kesting. He says 3 rules for effective flow rolling. I don't know if you guys know how to flow roll. That's kind of like an old school thought process of like rolling light for technique. It's kind of like before ecological. Obviously before ecological, it's just like how to train without injuring people and to be safe and to explore. Because some of you guys just roll hard constantly. Like you guys don't know how to flow roll. You just, you know, you don't know how to roll with technique. But you know, I don't know. It's a good skill to learn how to flow roll, how to sometimes give up position, and just explore, enjoy yourself. You know.
To do a 6-minute California roll. Okay. The rules: no explosive movements. Everything should be smooth and controlled. No using strength to solve problems.
You guys can't do it. You guys can't do it.
You literally have to use strength to move.
You guys can't do it. I'm sorry.
But don't get out of tight situations just by trying to bench press people off of you. Okay? And the third big rule is don't park anywhere for more than 3 seconds. Keep it moving. Even if you're in a dominant position.
Keep it moving, guys.
Keep it moving. Okay? Why do we do this? This gives us all an opportunity to rely less on our attributes and more on our jiu-jitsu. This helps us learn to roll with anybody in the room. Okay? And that is incredibly important. If you haven't heard me say it before, you do not get a blue belt at Rough Hands until I know that you can safely and productively roll with the biggest person and the smallest person.
Oh man, that's good. I like that.
Okay. That said, those rules are the ideal. It is a struggle.
That's easy.
It's tough.
That's super
okay.
easy.
Right?
Do it every day.
But I always want you striving for that ideal. Because I need you to understand, if your partner, the person you're rolling with, is still doing the California roll, and all of a sudden you explode out of there to pass their guard, you didn't actually accomplish anything. Because you stopped playing that game and started doing something different. Okay? This is an opportunity to experiment, to take some chances, to do some different things that you might not otherwise do, in an environment where the cost is not going to be so high. Okay? Submissions are allowed. But if you're having to crunch your way through finishing it, you don't have it. Let it go. Do something else.
Yo, listen to this guy, man.
Any questions about what I'm doing?
And somebody's still gonna go hard.
Grab a
and
partner.
not listen.
We'll set a timer for 6 minutes. Hey, listen, one more thing.
Somebody's still gonna go hard and injure people and not listen. Yeah, but I mean, if you can learn how to flow roll, that's a great way to improve. You got something else to say?
If you feel like your partner is no longer rolling in California, you can gently tell them what state you think they're rolling in. And that can be a reminder that they need to chill
Look
it
at
out.
these guys. These kids already
Touch
started.
hands, let's go to work.
Those kids already went hard. But yeah, if you learn how to flow roll, it's a great asset, especially if you want to become a professional, because you have to be able to roll with everybody and not injure them and, you know, make it a good experience. But if you only have one mode of training, it ain't going to work. And if you're big, you're always going hard, you're gonna not have a lot of training partners. So think about that, guys. That's a good way to learn how to improve, learning how to flow. It's something that the Americans miss in jiu-jitsu. That's kind of like something the Brazilians are really good at. One thing, a lot of time we don't call it this anymore, but we used to call jiu-jitsu the gentle art, the smooth art, arte suave. We'll take a look. Maybe we'll take a look at that today. But that was kind of like the ideal. You want to have smooth jiu-jitsu. Think of surfing. Think of skateboarding. Very smooth, being able to flow, go with the flow, and not pressure things. And I think that's something that a lot of Americans kind of, and everywhere else outside of Brazil, kind of lose. If your coach ain't really promoting that, then you're not going to develop that. So is it something, I don't know how to describe how you develop it, but you learn how to flow. You're going to be a little rough, and you see the holes in your technique, like, oh shoot, my technique ain't really working. Oh, I'm using way too much muscle. If you're like you're doing all that, you're using too much muscle. But if you can be relaxed, calm, you can problem solve in real time. That means you got good jiu-jitsu. If you're always using brute force, you might win, but at what cost? Yeah, let's look up arte suave for you guys. You guys need some arte suave. We'll just play a little bit. This is kind of how I came up, just watching arte suave. It's like a DVD, guys. It's also a gym in Denmark, Copenhagen. Where's the video at? Here's Marcelo. So Arte Suave was like a documentary back in the day, and this is a little clip of it. Okay. The soundtrack is peak, bro. This soundtrack, bro. This is like 2000s jiu-jitsu, man. It was very smooth. Never go to see all the big world champion guys. Got Fabio Gurgel with hair. Marcelo Garcia with hair. Nobody got hair anymore. What happened to your hair, guys? Where'd that hair go? Man, this was so amazing back in the day, bro.
So as you can see, Marcelo's game is really smooth. He can combine the techniques very easy. He can change the positions. He can play on the bottom in the same way that he can play on top. And I think that's the most important thing in jiu-jitsu. You try to be the same level if you stay on top or you stay on bottom. If you defend or you attack, I think you have to have a complete game. That's what I try to do with Marcelo, try to teach him, and he learned very well.
Meu jiu-jitsu é uma coisa que meus professores me ensinaram mesmo.
I think Marcelo spoke English back then.
Meus professores dependo ainda, entendeu? O Fábio me ensina muita coisa ainda. E ele me conhece bastante, entendeu? Ele sabe a forma que eu treino, a forma que eu preciso treinar antes de um campeonato, entendeu? Ele sabe o quanto eu preciso treinar. Mas quanto mais ataque você fizer, mais chance você vai ter do teu adversário errar, entendeu? Quanto mais você atacar, mais o teu adversário vai defender. Acho que a gente não deve ficar
philosophy is keep attacking.
Sempre que a gente está se defendendo, a gente está perdendo a luta, entendeu? A gente está perdendo tempo de atacar.
Yeah, that's Marcelo, man. Always attacking. If you guys want to watch this, please check out Arte Suave. I believe it is free on YouTube. And it's got guys like Jacare. Who else is on there? I think Jacare's on there. I think Cobrinha and Andre Galvao. I don't think Tedade was on there. But, man, so many good, you just got to catch that vibe, bro. Catch that vibe, bro. Moving on, we got Stefan Kesting again. He says he's joining BJJ Mental Models for a special emergency episode on the dangers of lapel guard and why the IBJJF must ban it immediately. Oh, wow. I don't know what's going on there. Oh, April Fools. Oh, no, they got me. April Fools. Happy April Fools, guys. Happy April Fools. Yeah, if you guys want to support the channel, please check out BJJ Mental Models. Offer code ALEC. Looks like you guys can listen to this one for free. Dang, they got me.
Hey guys, this is Mike Mahaffey, the old bastard BJJ
approach. This is not an episode on our regular release schedule. This is actually a somewhat urgent bonus episode because I am joined here today with friend of the show, Stefan Kesting from Grapple Arts and Essential Wilderness. Stefan, how's it going, my friend?
Steve, I'm glad that we can talk today because we have to get the message out. This is so important that it's pretty much worth an emergency. I wouldn't call this a bonus episode. I would call this an emergency episode.
Okay, interesting.
Happy April
an
Fools,
emergency
guys.
episode. Well, we don't do a lot of those, but I'm definitely eager to dig into the topic. As always, though, Stefan, of course, my most sincere thanks for coming by the podcast. You know, I always love to have you on as a guest. You've been very inspirational to my jiu-jitsu journey. So anything that you want to say about jiu-jitsu is something that I definitely want to listen to and I want a platform. So tell me what's up, buddy. What's the topic of the episode today?
Well, people do say that I have the best opinions on jiu-jitsu. You know, that's just what they say. But here's the thing. For years, I've stayed silent. I've stayed quiet when people started doing collar sleeve guard. And then I stayed silent when people started doing spider guard and grabbing the sleeves and wrapping people up with the material. And now it's just gone too far. I've stayed silent too long. We need to ban lapel guard in this sport.
Okay, awesome. Go check that out, guys. That's on BJJ Mental Models podcast. Again, if you want to support the channel, offer code ALEC when you go to sign up. Go check them out. I think that's the last video, bro. What has been going on? I got to get more. It's been slow. It's been a slow week, guys. Last topic, we got controversial topic of switching teams in jiu-jitsu. So I got a lot of life experience with this one. But let's see what Howell Teague has to say.
A lot of news going on in jiu-jitsu at the moment. There's some other things worth talking about, and one of those is the recent development, the announcement of 3 black belts joining Atos. Okay, so Andre Galvão and those guys are picking up even more talent to already what is one of the deepest squads in jiu-jitsu. So you've got Gustavo Batista, nicknamed Braguinha, Luisa Montero, I think she's possibly a 5-time world champion, but ridiculously credentialed black belt, and Rafael Vasconcelos. And it's interesting to note that the 3 of those guys all left Leandro Lowe's Brotherhood team in Sao Paulo to join with Andre Galvão, who is obviously based in San Diego, California. So exactly the motivations for those, I mean, we've just, we asked, and people generally don't like to talk about why they're leaving one team and joining another. We get usually standard responses. Of course, they're looking for the best training opportunities,
money
the
and
example
training,
that those guys set and the depth of talent and the opportunities that will present. But let's talk about the team switching thing. I mean, this is something of a divisive topic in jiu-jitsu because let's be honest,
right in San Diego is not bad.
Like it when people switch teams, right?
No one wants to be called a crianche, it's a bad thing to be.
There's a huge stigma against it, right?
But as jiu-jitsu professionalizes itself, you're going to want the best training. You're going to want to live in the place that's most conducive to a healthy lifestyle. And maybe getting into San Diego is a goal for many athletes. So
a lot of Brazilians want to go there.
For it. I think if you see an opportunity to join an excellent squad, there's a spot for you, and they're welcoming. You don't have to be rude to your old team, but do what's best for you. You're pursuing your own career.
What about this, Will? What about now if one of those guys, be it Rafael Vasconcelos or Gustavo Batista, what do you think happens when they end up on the opposite side of the mat from one of their former teammates? What do you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, you're in a tough situation when you switch teams, but sometimes we have seen teammates on the opposite sides of the bracket and they fight each other. Jiu-jitsu is very much an individual sport, right? So there's been many guys who switch teams throughout the history of jiu-jitsu, but at the end of the day, it comes down to you're remembered by your name, right? You're of course Alliance and these big names, these big schools, they're remembered, but the greats in jiu-jitsu are remembered by your name. And I look at it similar to like a LeBron James who wants to win, You know, he is a champion through and through. I think jiu-jitsu has some of the most competitive guys in the world, competitive athletes in the world, and they want to win. So you want to surround yourself with people who have a similar mindset, similar goals, who are going to test you, push you in the gym.
That's true.
So agreeing with Chase here, I think, you know, it comes down to aligning yourself for success. And I do agree with the fact that there seems to be more opportunity, especially in the competition scene within the United States. So coming to the U.S., you know, and if your team is not established here in the U.S., you may not have an option, you know, to stay with your team. So
there's got to be a right way to do it, though. You don't just cut ties, leave in the middle of the night. I mean, be upfront about your goals and ambitions, and hopefully you're supported. If not, then you did what you could, and you know you leave on good terms.
And you know, let's just take a look at how that applies to Atos as well, because you've got 3 big name black belts. You know, Gustavo Batista, of course, he won Europeans 3 years in a row at 3 different belt colors. He won, you know, blue, purple, brown in 3 consecutive years, and just got his black belt last year. So, I mean, he's obviously a super hot talent competing in and around the heavyweight, medium heavyweight division, depending on the level of the tournament. It's not like Atos were hurting for middle heavyweight, you know, high level black belts, right? So who else you got there? You got, well, Hulk, you got Keenan, you got guys kind of right on the cusp of that as well, like guys like Don Bell will be coming through from brown belt to compete at black belt soon. I mean, Hinger is floating around, Mike Perez. So are Atos just loading up the brackets as much as they can? Is that what it's about? Are they just like, man, we're going to stack it with as many guys as we got in, you know, so that we just dominate the podium?
I don't know if that's the case. I think it is a case of people trying to, someone who's coming in is trying to better their position, but also Atos wants to surround themselves with the best athletes out there, you know? So if you're playing the same games constantly, Keenan's constantly playing Hulk and Hinger, you know, you're not seeing new looks, you know, that could be something too. They want to bring in some new, fresh, young talent who's going to challenge them so they maintain. Last year was the first year Atos won the World Championship as a team, right? So you got to keep your foot on the gas now. You got to keep that level of intensity and competition high so you can maintain that.
Well, the one thing we have seen with Atos as well is that, you know, they're an international team, but their centers of power are really concentrated, right? Southern California, it's kind of spread out a little bit in Brazil, you know, spread out in Europe, but is this a move to consolidate power further in their HQ, or is this maybe a move to bring in guys and then to spread that out, you know? So let's see where it goes. But the team switching thing is interesting, and as I said, a bit of a divisive topic. It definitely riles some people up. Some people are super against it. Some people aren't. I mean, Andre Galvao is a perfect example himself that he actually passed through many teams and, you know, on his journey before setting up his own.
What happened there?
Mr. Shane Faison from Fight Tips.
Yes.
So good to meet you.
We're not watching that though.
A lot of news going.
Just popped off on us. Jesus Christ, get out of there.
Jiu-jitsu at the moment. There's some other things.
So I've switched teams handful of times. Usually it was just personalities, money, training. You know, that's kind of the same thing. I think with Brazilian athletes in particular, we got to think about their visa situation. You know, they have to go to places that can fund, you know, their ability to stay in America usually. So if they go to a big team, usually those teams have lawyers and they can fund. They have the funds to keep those athletes in the country. And the process takes a while. It's going to take a minimum 5 to 6 years, I believe. You know, and there's different visas. There's different things to get citizenship and green cards. But, you know, you got to have the resources to start that process. So your big teams, they can do that. They can bring those athletes over, get them situated, get them a place to stay, have them teaching classes, get them a car, and, you know, whatever else. And then a lot of times those athletes are tied to the business. They can't leave that business once they start that immigration process. So they're kind of stuck there. But until that point, you know, they can travel and switch teams and do whatever they need to do. So that is one added layer that the Brazilians have that the Americans don't really have. And people are going to go to the whatever situation is best. We've seen that in wrestling. People be jumping in that NIL portal, or the portal's not a part of the NIL, but they have that portal where they can go to a different school, maybe different schools offering some more money or, whatever else. It's a very complex topic. There's never just, I'm leaving because of this. It's usually a lot of different things. And talking about that, let's see if I can pull this up. Let's see. I want to send. I just saw a not new kind of thing, but it was something I saw kind of funnily enough from Dan Lukehart. I don't want to get him in trouble or anything, but let's see if I can. How can I get this to myself? I see some cool stuff, but sometimes it's kind of hard to share it and open it. Let's see. There we go. Can you guys see? There we go. So this is from Dan Lukehart, the owner of Brea Jiu-Jitsu. So we're just gonna read this little post, and I think that'll be it for today, for April Fool's Day. This is prior to April Fool's Day though. He says, I listened to the podcast with Dara. I say Darren, but his name is Dara O'Connell. And you all need to listen to it. He goes into some of the topics I find absolutely exhausting to talk about in regards to American Jiu-Jitsu, except he is talking about Irish Jiu-Jitsu. There is a lesson he has produced. There is a reason he has produced top talent in the adult black belt division. He was Fionn Davies' coach for a while, and some other people. Most people don't know how difficult this is. I feel that BJJ is losing its middle class. Ooh. We were talking about money earlier, right? We were talking about money. Think about all the Brazilians you don't see because they can't afford to go to America. They don't have the funds. They can't get the visa. And then think about the athletes that are getting paid peanuts. They're getting paid $14,000 to be the best person in their sport for the year. And then, all these other things are kind of colliding together. So he says, we're losing our middle class. You have people that are in the know and people who aren't. Seriously, he gets it. In a sport where many people don't get it, he understands root level premises, how they impact thinking, and how it determines your ceiling. He also has a very accurate read on the BJJ community at large, which is uncommon. Nolan, which is his student that just won PANS, one of the only American black belts to win PANS, which is his student, he says it's kind of funny because he has no patience for those who don't get it. Let's skip that part. That's not important. Dara does a great job articulating some of these features as the interview goes on. People like him need to be elevated they need to be elevated above the social media noise. And this seems to be a podcast. What does it say? Consistently above average. Dara O'Connell, training environments, IBJJF, Europeans, and what it takes to win at the highest level. So go and check that out, guys. And Dara actually comments, he says, thanks, Dan. Unsurprisingly, I got a lot of bad feedback from the community about this, saying I was being negative and how things have come a long way, or the level is better than ever. Unfortunately, as you said, most people don't have a deep enough understanding of what the highest level truly is and what it takes to get there. I felt it was important to be honest, and I'm glad you at least agree with the sentiment. Somebody's asking who Nolan is. Let's see. Cheers. I like what you said recently in knowing as a coach what the room would benefit from and about finding a way. I come from a family where my mom had to hoover, the Europeans, I gotta translate what they're saying, had to hoover cigarette butts off a bookie floor as a second job to raise 6 kids. Relative to where people start off from, I suspect there is a lot of scope for more effort and greater use of time and resources. And then Dan talks to Dara. He says, I think it gets harder and harder for me to connect/relate with other BJJ people because we don't share a baseline perspective. And there is a danger our perspective gets self-censored just to keep people happy in ignorance. So much of improving is an honest assessment of where things stands and the factors that play into it. I think it's important to keep hammering onto it to move the art forward, though. So I haven't listened to the podcast. It definitely sounds like it's worth checking out. But as far as the middle class thing, I mean, things have only gotten more expensive. Jiu-Jitsu said he was paying $80 however many years ago for jiu-jitsu training. You can't find $80 in America. You're not getting $80 jiu-jitsu in America. And then the tournaments are really expensive. To do an IBJJF tournament, we can check that out real fast. Let's check out whatever's coming up. Championships, calendar. Actually, let's go to upcoming events. Let's see. New York. New York's coming up this weekend. I wish I could be out there with you guys. I won't be there. But let's say we were to do New York. If you do early registration, which ended March 7th, you pay $134. And if you do late registration, which goes to March 28th, that's $162. And that's just for one division. If you guys do two divisions, that can go up to $276 for gi and no gi. So really expensive. And then this, I forget where this is. I believe it's in, it says Hempstead, which I think it's off of Long Island. Am I wrong? I could be wrong. But then you got to drive however many hours to get to the tournament, and then you got to stay overnight. Shout out to my boy Evan. I think he's going out there. Good luck, Evan. So it just adds up. So that's every tournament. Imagine you spending like close to $200 to $300 every tournament, travel, airport, gas, gis, food. That's not even counting your regular stuff. You gotta take care of your bills and everything else. And registration's definitely closed. The 28th is already passed. It's April 1st. But yeah, that just everything adds up, and so you really need a lot of funding to do this sport. And I guess that's similar to like all the other sports nowadays. It takes a lot of money to get good. The training, private lessons, the tournaments, the seminars. And you do have some schools, there's like the 10-a-day project and some social projects in Brazil. And even out of those, you might get one Gabriele, you might get one Jansen Gomez, you might get one athlete that is able to, even athletes like Izaki, they get lucky and they find a way to make it. But that's not the vast majority of the athletes. And that's just the Brazilians. In America too, people struggle to do these local tournaments, so it can be rough. A lot of things going on. I believe as more money goes into the sport, and I don't want to see money just go to one athlete, a Gordon Ryan or whoever else. I want to see the money's I don't believe in trickle down economics, but I do want to see the money being placed all throughout the system. So on the bottom, helping to create new champions, new instructors, new referees. On the top, rewarding those guys on top. And then in the middle, you got this whole middle class of jiu-jitsu that, maybe they didn't win the tournament. They're still supporting, they're still paying for the tournaments. They're still going and, doing this stuff and still teaching classes over there. I think there's a lot that can happen in the sport, that can be done in the sport. It's just a matter of if the IBJJF and other federations can take that next step. So we got to put pressure on them. And that's basically it, guys. Happy Handsome Tuesday. Happy April Fool's, April 1st. And I hope you guys enjoy. So again, I might try to stream on Twitch. We'll see. It doesn't seem to be very easy to understand. And they're like, yeah, you got to stream for like 3 hours. I'm like, bro, I barely do an hour on here. But we'll see if you guys, I just want to have a better way to interact with you guys. I think Twitch might be better. YouTube does have a way to stream, but it's not, I don't know, it doesn't feel very intuitive. I'm over here struggling and, but we'll see. Maybe as I get, better reach, maybe I'll go that route. But we'll see. If you guys like to support the channel, Cash App, right over there. Venmo, Inverted Gear, BJJ Mental Models. Offer code ALEC for everything. If you don't have any money, that's okay. Just like and share this video or leave a comment. That helps a ton. And that's it, guys. Until next time, peace and bye-bye.